Now, you might think that placing the arrivals dock alongside a pool party just behind me that seems to carry on most of the afternoons on most days would be an act of pure genius. I guess it probably would if it wasn't for the fact that leg 2 of the Ocean Race Europe that started in Cascais in Portugal and ended up here in Alicante, home of the Ocean Race, was a really tough one for the crews. The focus for most of the teams, and indeed the organisation before the start of this leg, was concentrated largely on the Strait of Gibraltar, but not so much because of its physical constraints, but because of the weather that was in store. With a forecast of 30 to 40 knots, wind against tide as well, and upwind, there was plenty to worry about, particularly for the Imoca 60 fleet, were not really designed for that kind of conditions. But as it turned out, that wasn't really the defining part of the race.
Welcome to the Ocean Race Europe at the start of leg 2 from Cascais, Portugal to Alicante, Spain. Well, we begin tucked up close to the shore. This is going to see a very light and fluky conditions, but from the start line, a reaching start out into the breeze and the waves as well. There's going to be one mark, most likely a bear away, possibly a jibe, but it looks like the stronger breeze is going to be offshore. So once the boat's straight set, they are then heading down south and off onto the 600 nautical mile course.
As we had seen in the coaster race, the start was a tricky affair, with a puffy offshore breeze rolling the dice across the course. But there was also drama for the first fleet to go, the Imoca 60s, when 11th hour racing collided with a motorboat shortly after the start. Miraculously, no one was hurt, but Charlie Enright's team headed back to Cascais to assess the damage to their foil. Meanwhile, further out to sea and now heading south, the Imocas and the VO65s ripped their way downwind. And the next surprise came quickly, as the VO65s, armed with their new A4 kites, caught the Imoca 60s, and in most cases, overtook them. Negotiating a quieter patch across the Bay of Cadiz calmed the pace.
We've got childhood just to weather of us, Mercury just in front of us, and the others we can just see in the distance. So we're doing pretty well, and the breeze is just getting a little bit funky around the corner, and then we're in for a bit of a tricky night. So watch this space.
Before Gibraltar Strait upped the stakes. It was breezy, really breezy.
Every 10 or 15 minutes, so everybody is out there on the deck and we want to go as fast as possible. It is a bit tiring, nobody goes to have a nap or anything because we have to be very efficient.
Yes, we're in the Strait of Gibraltar, we're actually on the Moroccan coast, and currently sailing Poland is in the lead, so that's quite nice, but it has been very windy. We had max breeze was 46 knots. Right now the breeze is going down a little bit, but still a stiff 4-7 with 30 knots. But battling the Pipuri just behind us, and then blinked out the open 60 is just a little bit further offshore, and Axo's gone to the other side. So we have to see how it's all panning out in the next 10 to 12 hours.
While most went south, AXA Nobel took a planned flyer and headed north.
So we're just coming up to Tarifa, kind of the middle of the Straits of Gibraltar. We ended up splitting away from the rest of the fleet, who have all gone to the south of the TSS and exclusion zone, and we've ended up to the north. We're kind of searching for some more current. They're searching for a bit of a wind shift. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see who comes out first. You know, a little bit risky to be split away from the fleet like this, but we've got to try and see how it goes.
But as they emerged from the strait, little had changed. They'd neither gained nor lost. Emerging unscathed was a success in itself.
Un beau passage, bravo.
Ça veut dire quoi un beau passage?
Ça veut dire quoi beau passage? Ça veut dire sans encombre, parce que c'était pas si simple. Entre la côte d'un côté et le DST de l'autre côté, il fallait pas se rater avec une petite moyenne 30-33 nœuds. Et voilà. Et après on a fait des belles manœuvres pour envoyer la toile.
On a aussi tartiné le long des côtes marocaines. Là on est revenu, on s'est refait la cerise. Hein.
Exactement.
Some had had a tougher time.
So this here is Gibraltar. We've just come through the Gibraltar Straits. We've had a pretty wild time of it. Yesterday was the most incredible downwind ride. Amazing, just absolutely amazing. The racing was so close. We were just crossing boats all the time, crossing jives, doing like 25, 28 knots, which was amazing. And then we came down towards the Straits of Gibraltar and the wind headed us. So we ended up tacking right in towards the Moroccan coast. We were doing really well, great boat speed. And then the tack line on the J3 broke. So if you just look behind me, see there, that big drum thing. So that basically broke free and was flailing around in the air. At the time it was very, very windy. It was about 35 knots and it smashed the mainsail, made a hole in the mainsail, and we had quite a job to get it down. And so while it was windy coming in through the Straits of Gibraltar, we had to go with 3 reefs and a storm jib, which was quite slow. But we've just done some repairs. Don't know if you can see up on the sail there, just there. We made a repair to the mainsail, and it's lighter wind, so we've got the J2 up now. We're getting going, but there's still a bit more tidying up to do.
We seem to get back up to speed after Gibraltar quite well. I think just shaking reefs, sail changes, stuff like that. And yeah, I think at this point, Bureau Valet is like 7 miles in front of us. And Link It Out is 20, if I'm not mistaken. So closing the gap. I don't know if it's going to be enough, but we're pushing hard. It's all we can do, and you know, make it close, and hopefully we can make it exciting at the end.
But the challenge was about to change, because the Mediterranean had an even bigger test in store. No wind.
I would say 5 to 6 hours we had to paddle a full upwind with 35 to 40 knots into our face. That was really physical, and now 6 hours later, with almost no breeze at all, we're in the Med, and we're trying to find some wind at the moment to make some progress on the leg and hopefully get home soon.
So today we passed Gibraltar in 35 knots of wind, and a couple of hours later we're here. There's no wind at all for a couple of hours, and everyone is just drifting around basically. So hopefully soon the wind will pick up from the northeast, we expect it, and then yeah, we head straight to Alicante.
Some people had other ways of creating boat speed.
Since we started eating dry mango, we are a little bit faster, so keep beating it.
But some had seen their fortunes change for the worse.
We are just after the second night. It's early in the morning, and it was actually quite a tough day for sailing Poland, because we ran out of breeze yesterday first after being leading for the Strait of Gibraltar. We always knew that was going to happen, and then the thing what was happening that Axel, Mipuri and ourselves were within half a mile of each other. Axel got first the breeze, then Mipuri and us last, and all of a sudden, like being together, we are like 4 or 5 miles behind.
Going into the final night, things were going to get funky as the weather refused to play to the forecast. In the Imokas, Linked Out had continued to hold a solid lead, while in the VO65s it was a match between Mipuri and Axel Nobel. And after a stressful night working the zephyrs of breeze, it was Mipuri that took the win.
And now a big smile, everyone. Look at me here, please. Look at me here.
It was very tough. We got very little sleep. The whole crew is probably very tired now. It was full-on spinnaker run until the south of Portugal, and then some strong upwind. Gibraltar and stuff was very, very strong, 30, 35 knots, 40 gusting sometimes. Very long, lots of tacks up there, and then straight into some light wind sailing. It was yeah, it was full-on, probably a maneuver every hour or so, changing sails and stuff. So it was hard to get some rest.
Axel Nobel were just minutes behind, disappointed not to have won, but relieved that they were on the podium.
You knew at any stage on this last day that it could end badly, but I think the order of who sailed the best played out in the end, and that's all right. We got within a mile of these guys at the finish, and they'd stretched it out to 5, a few hours beforehand. So it's kind of like you just never give up.
Linked Out's dominant performance across such a wide range of conditions have been particularly impressive.
I don't know if we have a precise secret. It's just that we did a good start, and then we were fast, and then we were almost going always to the right places on the water. So in the end we won, but there is no special secret. We wanted to win, and we did everything we could to win. We didn't expect this kind of wind during the night. We thought the wind was going to stay a bit longer, but we had moments with almost no wind at all, and at that moment Coram went back, and we were a bit nervous because it was absolutely not like the weather forecast, and we were afraid that the same thing as the first leg was going to happen. and in the end it was pretty tense and very close to Team Germany, and 11th hour they could have come back, so we were a bit scared, and there was a little bit of pressure on board.
The results board also said it all. Mipuri and Axel Nobel were tied for the lead, with Sailing Poland just 1 point behind. And 3 Imoca 60s now shared the lead in their class. So there's everything to play for the third and final offshore leg to Genoa before the inshore race closes the show. The bottom line is that over the course of a week or so and a couple of legs so far, the racing has been incredibly close. And that's probably another reason why they're not in the pool party.